The Vegetable Conundrum. Acroa, a sprightly 72-year-old with wispy gray hair and a sharp wit that could rival courtroom lawyers, had always prided herself on her healthy lifestyle. She grew her own vegetables in the modest garden of her suburban bungalow, walked 3 miles a day, rain or shine, and meticulously logged her meals in a notebook, an old habit carried over from the days she trained for half marathons in her 50s. Her son, Robert, often joked that she was the healthiest old woman alive, but Martha viewed this less as praise and more as a begrudging reality. After all, it wasn't her good fortune or genetics keeping her youthful, but her Sunday morning routine of kale smoothies, her unwavering avoidance of processed foods, and her disdain for fast food joints. "McDonald's is for the lazy and uninspired," she'd tell her grandchildren, much to their dismay. But all of Martha's self-assuredness came crumbling down one crisp autumn morning when, as she tended her Swiss chard, she felt a sudden numbness in her feet. It was subtle at first, a tingling like the faint buzz of static electricity. She ignored it, assuming she'd been crouching in the garden bed too long. But as the days passed, the sensation intensified, moving from harmless annoyance to genuine discomfort. Denial and dotted Google Martha, stubbornly independent, didn't rush to see a doctor. Instead, she did what any modern septuagenarian would. She consulted the internet. Late at night, illuminated by the icy glow of her laptop screen, she stumbled upon a YouTube video titled "Hidden Dangers: 3 Common Vegetables That Worsen Foot Numbness." The thumbnail caught her attention, a bright medley of spinach, broccoli, and Swiss chard, with a red X slashed over it. She hesitated for a moment, her brows furrowing. Swiss chard? Surely not. Swiss chard was one of her prize crops, her go-to for hearty soups and nutrient-packed omelets. It was her gift to the neighborhood potluck, always met with rave reviews, but curiosity got the better of her, and with a click, the video began to play. The narrator had one of those commanding voices, the kind that made even the most outlandish claims sound irrefutably scientific. Martha watched with rapt attention as they listed potential dangers lurking in the 3 culprit vegetables: oxalates, vitamin K, and their sinister ties to circulation issues. By the end, her cherished spinach, broccoli, and Swiss chard felt less like health staples and more like dietary saboteurs. "Ridiculous," she muttered, slamming her laptop shut. But later that night, as her feet tingled with increasing intensity, Martha couldn't help but wonder, was she tapping into a hidden truth, or falling prey to clickbait paranoia? Doubts take root. 2 weeks later, Martha finally caved and made an appointment with Dr. Patel, her patient but no-nonsense primary care physician. As Martha relayed her symptoms, she noticed Dr. Patel's skeptical brow lift when she mentioned the video. "Let me get this straight," Dr. Patel said, adjusting her glasses. "You think your foot numbness is from spinach?" Martha bristled. "Spinach, Swiss chard, broccoli. Maybe not directly, but there's a connection. Oxalates and vitamin K, clotting issues, circulation problems. It sounded perfectly valid." Dr. Patel leaned back in her chair, the corners of her mouth twitching as if suppressing a sigh. "Martha, I see where you're coming from, but consider the bigger picture. These vegetables have incredible health benefits. Oxalates are only a concern in very high quantities, usually for people predisposed to kidney stones. As for vitamin K, unless you're on blood thinners, it's not the enemy. You've been eating these vegetables for years. Are you telling me they suddenly turned on you?" Martha left the appointment feeling somewhat chastened but unconvinced. She wanted a problem to solve, a clear cause and effect. If not vegetables, then what? Dr. Patel ordered some blood work and recommended a vascular specialist, but the appointment was weeks away. In the meantime, Martha decided to test the theory herself by cutting out the 3 vegetables entirely, the Great Vegetable Purge. The decision to boycott spinach, broccoli, and Swiss chard was met with varying degrees of incredulity from her family and friends. Her neighbor, Doris, raised a penciled-on eyebrow when Martha handed over a basket of freshly picked chard and announced she wouldn't be eating it anymore. "You've been eating that stuff for decades," Doris said. "How bad can it be?" Her son Robert was more blunt. "Mom, please tell me you're not throwing away your entire diet because of some stupid YouTube conspiracy." "It's not stupid," Martha snapped, though her resolve was already wavering. Some theories sound strange until they're proven true. Still, Martha persisted. She avoided spinach at the farmer's market, skipped broccoli in her stir-fries, and stopped her morning routine of sautéed chard with eggs. At first, she felt a pang of loss, like losing an old friend. But she convinced herself it was worth it when the tingling in her feet began to subside. Could it be? The vegetables really were the culprits? The controversy grows. Word of Martha's dietary shift spread quickly in her small community. Doris, a social media enthusiast, posted about it on her Facebook page. "My neighbor Martha thinks veggies are ruining her feet. Spinach, eel, public enemy number one." The post garnered dozens of comments, ranging from amused disbelief to genuine concern. Soon, Martha was fielding calls from curious neighbors, friends, and even the local health food store owner, who begged her to reconsider. Martha didn't mind the attention. If anything, she relished the role of a crusader, standing against the so-called healthy food establishment. But not everyone was supportive. At a family dinner, her grandchildren teased her mercilessly, turning their broccoli florets into mock villains in an impromptu theater performance. Even Robert, usually mild-mannered, lost patience. "Mom, you're being ridiculous. You're basing your whole life around one video. You're smarter than this." "It's not just the video," Martha retorted. "It's research, and anyway, my feet feel better since I stopped eating those vegetables." "Correlation doesn't equal causation," Robert shot back. The dinner ended in tense silence, the truth unveiled. The turning point came weeks later when Martha finally saw the vascular specialist. Dr. Reynolds, a soft-spoken man with an air of quiet confidence, listened attentively as Martha described her symptoms, her dietary changes, and her newfound suspicion of leafy greens. "Interesting theory," Dr. Reynolds said with a slight smile. "But let's dig a bit deeper." After a series of tests and a thorough physical exam, Dr. Reynolds delivered the verdict: peripheral neuropathy caused by mild diabetes, exacerbated by poor circulation. Martha was stunned. "Diabetes? But I thought I was healthy. I don't eat junk food." "It's not just about junk food," Dr. Reynolds explained gently. "Sometimes it's genetics, age, or even just bad luck. Your symptoms have nothing to do with spinach or Swiss chard. Those vegetables are actually good for circulation, in moderation." Martha left the office feeling both relieved and humbled. She wasn't dying, and she didn't need to give up her beloved garden vegetables. But she also felt a twinge of embarrassment as she thought of the conversations she'd had, the arguments she'd made, and the certainty with which she'd proclaimed her theory, a return to balance. The next morning, Martha walked into her kitchen, pulled out a pan, and sautéed a generous handful of Swiss chard with olive oil and garlic. As the earthy aroma filled the air, she couldn't help but laugh at herself. How easily she'd been swayed. How desperate she'd been for answers. But she didn't regret the journey. It had reminded her of something important: the balance between skepticism and open-mindedness, between caution and confidence. "Well," she said to herself, taking a bite of her long-lost breakfast apple, "at least I made my feet famous." From that day forward, Martha proudly embraced her vegetable, armed with a newfound understanding of her health, and the humility to admit she didn't have all the answers.